to the Imagine Me podcast. Imagine me, imagine you, imagine us. I am Lily Price. Imagine yourself in a space where women can laugh and learn to value themselves by creating a deeper relationship with the divine. Imagine yourself free. What do you imagine? Welcome to the Imagine Me podcast. Imagine me, imagine you, imagine us. I am Lily Price. And before you keep swiping or find something else, hit the like and subscribe button because we are going to be talking about physical wellness, mental wellness, and spiritual wellness on this podcast, and how you having a relationship with God is important. But not only that, He understands that you live in this world and that there are topics that people in the church do not talk about. But guess what? We're going to talk about them here. So, first topic is going to be stepping into alignment with God and what that looks like. So, yes, aligning ourselves with God. Where do I start? I think that people really struggle when it comes to alignment because they feel like there's this perfection that they have to have. I have to do this every day and I have to do that every day and then I have to do this and then I have to pay my tithes and I have to go to church and I have to do this and I have to do that. And I think one of the things that we forget is that when we are walking with the Lord, that Old Testament talk, and let me explain before I go there. The Old Testament, I love, love, love. But there's a reason why it's called the Old Testament. Now, there are things, stories, events, traditions within the Old Testament that I think are beautiful and wonderful, and they really help us better understand who God is. That is why I love it. I actually prefer reading the Old Testament because it helps me feel more connected with the people that we're reading about. And it also, listen, if you read some of that stuff in the Old Testament, you don't need to watch Housewives of Atlanta because the tea is in the Bible. Okay, let's be clear. The tea is in the Bible. Like, he is talking about everything in the Bible. Like, there's all kinds of information, stories, and they relate to a lot of the experiences that we have today. However, there were also these laws, right? There were also these specific things that people had to do in order for them to feel connected or be in the presence of God. The great thing about Christ is that we don't have to do all that stuff anymore. Christ is showing us that God is right here, right now. We don't have to make sacrifices. We don't have to do any of that stuff. Like, he's there, period. All you got to do is call on my name. You are healed. All you have to do is X, Y, and Z. So as we talk about alignment, I think that's also where things get misconstrued because people will say, well, aren't you supposed to be saved? Shouldn't you have that handled? Why do you struggle with anxiety? Why do you struggle with fear? Like, if you're saved, you should have it together. Well, alignment and walking with the Lord is a process. And I think it's a process for everyone individually. There's this expectation that as believers that we have to be perfect and that we should have all the answers. And the bottom line is we don't. So as we navigate into alignment, I'm going to share some tips on how to align or realign yourself. However, also don't beat yourself down and distance yourself when you can't really stand up or make it to those standards, right, that you set for yourself. Aligning ourselves with God is building the relationship. I would say that a large part of alignment with God is conversation. When I look even in the Old Testament and New Testament, God was having conversation with people, you know? And a lot of times you'll hear people say, like, well, God isn't the same now as he was, in biblical times. Well, no, we're not the same. God's always the same. I learned in one of my college courses that, like, God is an unmoved maker. He's not moved by the world. The world doesn't move God. It doesn't change God. God is bigger than the world, so the world can't change him. He's always going to be the same. So whoever he's been to you is who he's going to be and more. We change. We have changed. We've got cell phones, we've got TV, we have radio, we have all of these different distractions that keep us from hearing the voice of the Lord. So he's there for conversation. The question is, are we? Are you there? Remember when, well, okay, I'm dating myself, but McFly, hello, McFly, like, are you there? Um, from Back to the Future. It's like, hello, are you there? God is talking to you. Whether you can hear him or not is dependent on your alignment. So, for instance, I've had situations where I just knew I was doing what, God wanted me to do. When in fact, I was doing what I wanted to do. Yes. It was what I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, this is what I want. Lord, I know this is what you have for me because it's what made me comfortable. So what made me uncomfortable is actually what God wanted. You know, Leaving a relationship, leaving a job, leaving a city is what God wants. Staying in the relationship, staying in the job, staying in the city is comfortable for us. So that's really what we want. But we keep praying to fix the relationship, fix the job, fix the city, right? No, that's not how it works. God is like, I want you out of there. I want you to get out of there. That's the whole point. So aligning ourselves so that we can hear God and so that we can understand what it is that God really wants for us. So I would say the first step in aligning ourselves is conversation, right? So having conversation with the Lord. Good morning, Lord. How's it going today? Like, thank you for waking me up. Guide me today. I think sometimes when people think of prayer, they think like we're on our knees and we have to have this special, special place, which it's great to have a prayer room, and we will talk about that. But you know, if you're new to walking with the Lord, he just wants to talk to you. You don't have to create this wonderful space to have a conversation with God. He's right there. He's waiting on that conversation. So just waking up and asking the Lord, hey, just come into my heart today. I need your guidance. I don't know who you are. Maybe I do know who you are, and I just want to be reconnected. Guide me today. With that, try to find an area of the Bible that you would want to know more about, whether it be Matthew, where Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John are talking about the ministry of Christ. If you want to be closer to Christ, then read about him. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are all books that share information about who Christ is. And what I really love about those stories is that there's different perspectives. I mean, Christ is the same in all of them, but they share different stories. There's different healings in certain scriptures. There's different miracles in certain scriptures. There's a different way when we talk about his crucifixion. There's another scope in these different books, and so it really draws you into the full story. You know what I mean? Like the full story. So, really kind of starting and saying, okay, I want to read, but I don't know where to start. Start there. If you just kind of want to get a feel for God and who God is, Psalms and Proverbs are great. If your focus is I want to know who God is, I want to know more about the spiritual component of it, man, Psalms and Proverbs, like, that's awesome. Proverbs shows us more of the wisdom of God, and how he kind of can see things and some of our choices in the choices that we make, and what can happen with those choices. Psalms shows us a lot of the praise. But what I really love about Psalms is it shows a realistic view of David and his emotion. He was so connected to God, and there were times where he was like, "Where are you at?" And I think we all feel that way. There's times where we absolutely all feel like, excuse me, where'd you go? And then all of a sudden, whatever it was that David wanted to happen would happen. And he'd be like, Lord, I love you. Don't we all do that? So Psalms is a really cool book for that. I think another piece when we're talking about alignment is not putting the pressure of, saying, okay, I have to read every day. Sometimes life doesn't allow us that. And I'm saying that as a mother with 3 children. One of my children are now, an adult and out of the home, but 2 of them are still here, and there's a big age gap. On top of that, I'm a business owner and I am a wife. So when you think a day, that's, something, sometimes that just isn't something I can do. I don't always get to my word every single day. Even if there's a planned time, like I might plan like, okay, at 5:30, I'm going to get up and I'm going to read. Okay, yeah, that's a perfect time to plan for every day. But if my daughter wakes up at 2:30 in the morning and she's ready to like have a conversation or jump in the bed with me, I might stay up till 4. And so I might need to sleep and I can't get up at 5:30. That's the part about God that I believe is very understanding. And so what I would incorporate is not pressuring yourself and saying, I have to do this every day. Do it one day at a time. If you're not able to get into your Bible, something as simple as a daily devotional that takes about 2 or 3 minutes to read, and maybe 2 or 3 minutes to just kind of process and say, okay, Lord, what is it that I'm gaining from this devotional, can really set the tone for the day. Okay. Also, taking care of ourselves. Find time in the week to take a walk, to take a jog. And you might think, well, how does this align me with God? Well, I'll tell you, clearing your mind of the world can do so much when it comes to aligning ourselves with the Lord and being able to hear Him. When I'm working out, I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk about on my podcast, which pertains to the Lord, which is beneficial to the kingdom. So there you go. No, but in all seriousness, clearing the mind by working out and eating right can really be beneficial for you as an individual to better hear the Lord. Because, for one, you're opening a space, but also you're feeling better. And another thing I would say is fasting. Now, today I hear people fast all the time. Like, you'll hear people like, I fasted for a day, or I do intermittent fasting, or maybe they've done like a 3-day fast or something like that. That's all cool. It's all great. However, fasting for your physical and actually fasting for your physical, or for your spiritual, are 2 different things. So, fasting for your physical is great. Like, that's great. But when you really decide to fast and you incorporate that spiritual component, and by incorporating, I mean like you're fasting, you're just drinking water and maybe drinking some tea, nothing else. Okay. That's all you're having. But with that, maybe you're listening to a spiritual podcast, such as this. Okay. Or maybe you're listening to an audio Bible, or maybe you're listening to praise and worship music. Maybe you're getting into prayer early in the morning and then you're going to bed with that prayer. And the only thing that's really going into you is all of the good stuff that God wants you to hear from the day, and not Housewives of Atlanta and what happened with our girl Portia. Okay? Now, nothing against the Housewives of Atlanta, but when you're fasting, that's probably not what you need to be listening to. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, fasting is a great way to really align yourself. Now, when I fast sometimes for two different reasons. One, something's going on, Lord, and I need you to intervene. Okay, so I'm fasting, right? I need you to intervene. I need you to change this, or I need you to make this work. It's something that I'm asking for. So I'm going to him with a fast. And we've seen that before in the Bible. King David, when his son was passing away, he fasted. He wanted God to change something, so he fasted. Now, when we're preparing for something, we can fast, right? We can fast when we're preparing for something or trying to just show that we love God and we just want to be in alignment and we're in preparation. We've seen that when we talk about Jesus. He fasted. He was fasting 40 days, 40 nights. He knew what was to come, and he was preparing himself to do the thing that God had called him to do. And then you can just be fasting because it's something you want. So maybe there's three reasons, but particularly those two, I would say, is when you want something to change or if you're preparing for something, right? Aligning ourselves. And I want to trail back because even the things that I have said can be a little overwhelming. Start slow. Lord, I don't know who you are, but I want to get to know you. What do I need to do? Good morning. Thank you for getting me through this day. Show me who you are. Show me who you are. And have an expectation as you're aligning yourself with God. Have an expectation to see things. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we'll ask God for stuff, but we don't have like an expectation. Listen, I be expecting stuff. Okay, like seriously, like I'm expecting. So if the Lord tells me, I mean, if I'm looking, for God to do something and I go into prayer about it, I'm waiting. I want to see it. Lord, show me. I've had several questions. Lord, show me why this happens. Show me why that happens. Help me understand what I just read a little bit more. I have an expectation. And because I have an expectation, listen, he'll show me that day in certain situations. Certain situations, he might show me later in the week. In certain situations, I might not know for a while. There are certain things that have happened in my life that I've gone to God and I'm like, man, Lord, I really don't understand this pain that I experience, and I need you to show me. And I don't have that answer yet. But part of aligning ourselves with God is the faith of it all. I have an expectation that He will show me. Okay. So expect God to show you great things. Journal. Aligning ourselves through journaling or writing, those are great things. Just talking about some of your experiences, talking about what it is that you want. We hear it in the word, write it down. Write down the things that you want. Write it down. Write those things down. And again, have an expectation. Aligning ourselves also might mean cutting people off. Those are kind of the harder things when it comes to alignment. Cutting things off, cutting people off. Sometimes people can be even harder. And what will happen is God will just rip them from you. Period. He'll just say, look, okay, look, I'm taking this person out of your life because you're not strong enough to even take them out of your life on your own, because I need you to do something. So, boom, I'm taking them. And it's happened to me. There's been situations where I'm like, I really like this guy. He's like, snatch. You don't need to be dating him. Me and you got to have a conversation. We got things to do over here, ma'am. So, aligning ourselves with God, it can seem like it's a battle sometimes. A lot of times it's a battle with ourselves. God is there, He's talking to us. Now, what are we willing to get rid of so that we can properly hear Him? I will say that in my life, When I get up in the morning and I start my day off with God, those are the better days. I will say that when I'm reading and I find that time to really read and really try to seek Him, and I'm noticing the older that I get, I don't have to read a lot. It's not like I'm sitting here reading for an hour. A lot of times I'll read for 15 minutes and I will find something and I'll be like, wow, God is amazing. Lord, why did this happen? Why did that like tell me about this story. Tell me more about this. Show me this. How can I do this? How can I honor you? Because what I just read is beautiful, right? So, you know, don't be afraid of the alignment conversation, because the places that you will go, you ever see that, hear that Dr. Seuss book, like, oh, the places you will go? Well, I'll tell you what, outside of Dr. Seuss, God is saying, oh, the places you will go. If you will just read my word, if you will just praise and worship with me, if you will just wake up with me during the day, or I mean in the morning. Now the rest of the day we're living in the world, but the world doesn't seem as hard when we started off with Him. Imagine me, imagine you, imagine us stepping out there and making small changes so we can better align ourselves with the Almighty.